Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Maimuna Akhtar from School of Pharmaceutical Education and Research. Today we are going to discuss about a module Theory of Fluorescence under paper Atomic Spectroscopy. After completing this module, you will be able to understand the fluorescence phenomena, or you can say we will brush up the phenomena of fluorescence concept and requirement for a substance to show fluorescence, various factors that tend to activate or deactivate the fluorescence, how vibrational relaxation, internal conversion, intersystem crossing lead to loss of fluorescence. We know if a molecule is excited to give a species whose emission spectra provides information for qualitative and quantitative analysis, the method is collectively called as molecular luminescence procedures. Luminescence is most conveniently defined as the radiation emitted by a molecule or an atom after it had absorbed energy to go into excited state. The main type of luminescence consists of fluorescence and phosphorescence. Fluorescence and phosphorescence are alike. That means that excitation is brought about by absorption of photon. It is different from incandescence, where the excitation or radiation is brought about by heating. As a result, the two phenomena, fluorescence and phosphorescence, are often referred as photoluminescence because the light produced or absorption is of light. The fluorescence difference from the phosphorescence, that means the fluorescence differs from phosphorescence in that the electronic energy transition responsible for fluorescence does not involve a change in electron spin. In other words, the electron spin remains unchanged when a molecule shows fluorescence in comparison to phosphorescence. Therefore, fluorescence is very short-lived and ceases immediately when the illuminating light is cut off. It is roughly 10 to the power minus 5 seconds. Whereas a change in electron spin is accompanied in the process of phosphorescence. That means a radiation endurance is for an easily detectable time after termination of the irradiation. In most instances, photoluminescence is longer in wavelength than the radiation used for its excitation. Molecules have energy level determination by the molecular orbitals that hold molecule bound together, whereas in case of atoms, it is atomic orbital that determines the different energy levels of the electron. So when a molecule absorbs light, there is electron transition in both atoms as well as the molecule. So in atoms, this involves the promotion of electron from an outer shell orbital to an empty orbital of higher energy. For example, if you have sodium atom, the excitation of 3s electron will be to 3p or 3d or to 3s or 4s orbital. Whereas in case of molecules, the electron is promoted from the highest occupied molecular orbital to the lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. Promotion of valence electrons as a result of absorption of a photon from its ground state to an excited state with conservation of the electron spin results in singlet excited state. That means when an electron is excited from ground state to the higher state, excited state, the spin of the electron does not change. For example, a pair of electrons occupying the same electron ground state have opposite spins as shown in the figure below and are said to be in singlet spin state. This is a singlet ground state. Absorbing a photon promotes one of the electron to a singlet excited state, a phenomena called excitation. Since the excited state are not stable and therefore will not stay indefinitely, and in this case when the excited electron in the excited state does not same spin, the state is called excited singlet state. The electron will return to ground state by releasing the excess energy absorbed. This return process is called decay or deactivation or relaxation. The excited state can get depopulated in several ways. The molecule can lose its energy non-radiatively by giving its energy to another absorbing species in its immediate vicinity, that is energy transfer, or it can collide with other species in the medium, can result in loss of energy in the form of heat. It may jump to triplet state if an excited singlet state and triplet state vibrational levels have some overlaps. That is a process known as intersystem crossing. So if the molecule returns to ground state from excited singlet state, losing its extra energy in the form of photon, the process is known as fluorescence. Under some special conditions, this kind of procedure happens. That means the energy absorbed during excitation process is released in the form of photon. And this type of relaxation is called emission. Emission of photon from singlet excited state to a singlet ground state or between any two energy levels with the same spin is called fluorescence. The probability of fluorescent transition is very high, and the average lifetime of the electron in the excited state is 10 to the power minus 5 to 10 to the power minus 8 seconds. So that means fluorescence decays rapidly after the excitation source is removed. From the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry, their glossary term of fluorescence mentions it is a spontaneous emission of radiation, or you could say luminescence, from any excited molecular entity with the formation of a molecular entity of the same spin multiplicity. So you can see here a graphical representation where x-axis shows the nuclear coordinates and y-axis shows the energy. A molecule has electrons in the lowest energy vibrational level, and there is some definite energy difference between the two levels, electronic ground state and electronic excited state. When this molecule is supplied with energy equal to the difference between the two states, the molecule absorbs energy and jumps to the electronic excited state. There is very small difference between fluorescence and phosphorescence. Phosphorescence is also a radiative process. Now we know the fluorescence is a phenomena of release of excess energy absorbed by molecule in the form of light only, and this phenomena stops as soon as the incident radiation is cut off. In contrast to it, the phosphorescence, which is also a radiative process, the singlet excited state, which is in fluorescence, gets transformed to a triplet excited state. That means the electron which had same spin in fluorescence gets converted to a triplet state by change in spin, which its spin is no longer paired with the ground state. That means the spin of the excited electron is not anymore paired with the spin of the electron in ground state. So phosphorescence describes the radiative process originating from triplet state to singlet state. The required spin inversion of one of the electron when it moves from the lowest unoccupied molecular orbital to the half-filled highest occupied molecular orbital is a forbidden process. So when observed, it occurs on a time scale much longer than the fluorescence process because it has to have the change of spin. That means it needs to reverse the spin. So in most cases, it can only be observed in frozen glass solutions at low temperatures, or in other cases, it can be a fairly good long time. Because the average lifetime of phosphorescence ranges from 10 to the power minus 4 to 10 to the power 4 seconds, phosphorescence may continue for some time long after the excitation source is cut. Fluorescence occurs in simple as well as in complex gaseous, liquids, or solid chemical systems. Simplest example is vaporized sodium atom, where 3s electrons are excited to 3p by absorption of wavelength 5896 angstroms and 5890 angstroms. After 10 to the power minus 5 to 10 to the power minus 8 seconds, these excited electrons return to ground state, emitting radiations of same two wavelengths. If such a kind of phenomena is seen, that is called as resonance fluorescence. This fluorescence and phosphorescence is the ratio of the number of molecules that luminesce to the total number of excited molecules. For highly fluorescent molecule such as fluorescein, the ratio approaches unity. Here we can see partial energy diagram for a photoluminescent system. This was given by a Swedish scientist, Jablonski, and which is named behind him. This diagram explains that when a molecule is in ground state, it has number of vibrational levels. The vibrational energy is related to the bond length and bond angle. So it has number of vibrational levels, and it has different excited levels. We can have excited singlet state 1, excited singlet state 2, and in excited singlet states also has number of vibrational levels, because even if a molecule is in excited state, there is constant change in the vibrational energy. And there is a triplet excited state when molecular structure is favoring it. That means when a molecule contains some heavy atom. So when a molecule is in ground state and it absorbs energy that is equal to the difference between the ground state and the excited singlet state, one of the electron shifts from ground state to the singlet excited state. So we call it singlet excited state, provided that the spin of the electron does not change. And from there it loses small packets of energy, which is represented by the vibrational relaxation. And if the vibrational energies of any two excited singlet states is close enough or overlap, the electron shifts from singlet state 2 to singlet state 1 and gradually keeps on losing energy in form of vibrational relaxation. This phenomena is called internal crossing. Crossing from singlet excited state 2 to singlet excited state 1. From the lowest vibrational level, it can come down to the ground state by number of processes as we discussed, and one of the process is fluorescence, releasing energy in the form of photon. And it may go to triplet state if a molecule is having vibrational levels in triplet state whose energy is overlapping with the singlet excited state vibrational levels. Excitation state, what is it? What is known as excitation state? Which state is called excitation state? We already know some quantum chemical principles, and one of them is Pauli's exclusion principle. According to Pauli's exclusion principle, no two electrons in an atom can have same set of 4 quantum numbers. Quantum numbers like principal quantum number, azimuthal quantum number, magnetic quantum number, and spin quantum numbers. That means you can have 3 quantum numbers same but not the 4th one. For example, if you have 2 electrons in 2s orbital, it has same principal quantum number, which is 2, it has same magnetic quantum number, it has same azimuthal quantum number, but they cannot have same spin. So that means no 2 electrons in a system can have same set of 4 quantum numbers. This restriction requires that no 2 electrons, as I said, can occupy an orbital and further have same spin. So they must have opposite spin. Under those circumstances, the spin are said to be paired. Because of spin pairing, most molecules exhibit no net magnetic field and are thus said to be diamagnetic. That means they do not respond to the magnet. They are neither attracted nor repelled by static magnetic field. Then when a molecule absorbs energy and one of the electron gets excited and it goes to the higher energy level, the state is called singlet excited state. So how will say singlet excited state? A molecular electronic state in which all electron spin are paired even in the excited state is called singlet excited state. And no splitting of electron levels occur when the molecule is exposed to a magnetic field. Whereas in case of triplet state, the pairing of electron molecule does not remains. That is, when one of the paired electron of molecule is excited to a higher level and when the spin of that excited electron is changed, it is termed as triplet state. The property of molecule differs in triplet state than that in singlet excited state. For example, paramagnetic compounds become diamagnetic. Singlet excited state conversion to triplet excited state or singlet excited to triplet transition involves change of spin as I explained, and it is significantly less probable event than singlet ground to singlet excited state transition. In general, the fluorescence process can be broken down into three phases. One, that's excitation. Excitation means absorption of light of an appropriate wavelength via fluorophore. Two, that's excited state. A fluorophore undergoes vibrational and conformational changes. Third is emission. It means when it relaxes back, the photon of light is emitted. The fluorescence process is a cyclical. Therefore, a fluorophore can be excited repeatedly. Rate of absorption and emission. We all know that the excited state of a molecule is not permanent. That means it has a lifetime. So this lifetime of the excited state is inversely related to molar absorptivity of the absorbed light. For example, for a molar absorptivity of 10 to power minus 3 to 10 to power minus 5, the lifetime of excited state can range from 10 to power minus 7 to 10 to power minus 9 seconds. So according to law of absorption, which was given by Lambert and Baer, who were working simultaneously in different places, they showed, and the separate laws have been combined and are called after them as Beer-Lambert law. They explained that intensity of the light absorbed by a solution is the incident intensity minus the transmitted intensity, where I is equal to I naught E power minus ACL. The intensity of light absorbed can therefore be written by this formula, where I naught is intensity of light, I is intensity of transmitted light, A is absorptivity factor, or you can say extinction coefficient multiplied by 2.303, C is concentration of the fluorophore, L is length of the optical path. The intensity of fluorescence emitted can be obtained by multiplying the amount of light absorbed by the quantum yield, phi, where phi is the ratio of light emitted to the total light absorbed. So we can have equation fluorescence equal to phi multiplied by the light absorbed, or figure of light absorbed, the I naught into I minus e raised power minus ACL. For a given fluorescent compound, solvent, temperature and path length, that is cell dimensions, and other related factors will be constant. So if you're performing an experiment, you'll use a common solvent, perform a practical particular temperature, use the same cell or cuvette, that means the path length will be constant. So all other factors are constant, the only variable is concentration. Therefore, we can write F is equal to Kc, where K is the proportionality constant in which all other factors are included. So like everything has rules, emission has also rules. There are two rules which govern the emission of the light from systems. One is called Stokes' law and another is Kasha's rule. So you can see a spectrum over here where you have emission spectrum as well as absorption spectrum. Right? In other words, emission and excitation spectrum. You can see there is difference in the wavelength of the two. So Stokes' shift or Stokes' law says that the energy of emission is typically less than that of absorption. That means fluorescence will occur at lower energies, or in other words, longer wavelength. And we have already got some idea about why that should happen. Because if you remember about few of the slides, that when a molecule is excited singlet state, it loses small packets of energy. That means the amount of energy it has absorbed, some part of it has already lost. So when it comes back, it has less energy than the amount of energy it had absorbed. And Kasha's rule says that the same fluorescence emission spectrum is generally observed irrespective of excitation wavelength. This happens since the internal conversion is rapid. So explaining this, that means no matter what is the source of light for emission, for absorption, no matter what is the source of energy that is provided, the energy for excitation or the emission of the system, excitation wavelength will be same in any kind of source you provide. That is because the internal system of the molecule is so efficient and rapid that no matter the source, the result will be same. The physicist George G. Stokes, after whose name the Stokes shift or Stokes law was named, explained the difference in the emission wavelength and the absorption wavelength. It's the difference in wavelength or frequency units between positions of the band maxima of the absorption and fluorescence spectra of the same electronic transition. So when a molecule or atom absorbs light, it enters an excited electronic state. The shift occurs because the molecule loses small packets of absorbed energy through vibrational relaxation before releasing the rest of energy as fluorescence, the so-called Stokes fluorescence, and it depends on the time between the absorption and the re-emission. So we have understood the basic concept of fluorescence. So we must also understand the factors that affect the phenomena of fluorescence. A number of factors that tend to deactivate the process of fluorescence and phosphorescence are called deactivating factors. So various processes which deactivate the fluorescence include vibrational relaxation, internal conversion, external conversion, and intersystem crossing. In next few slides, we'll discuss each one in detail. So coming to first, vibrational relaxation. Vibrational energy is the energy used to lengthen or shorten bonds or to widen or squeeze the bond angles. So if a molecule is big enough, some of its vibrational energy could be transferred into bond length and angles further away from the electronic transition. Otherwise, if molecule is small, it may transfer some of energy in collision with other molecules. Coming to vibrational relaxation, an electron in a molecule may be promoted to any of the several vibrational excited levels during the electronic excitation process. In solution, the excess of vibrational energy is immediately lost as a consequence of collision between the molecules of the excited species and those of solvent. So in figure on right, you can see a molecule has absorbed energy and the electron goes to any of the available vibrational excited singlet state. After absorbing the energy transfer and minuscule increase in temperature may also happen. That means it has transferred energy into the system. This relaxation process is so efficient that average lifetime of vibrationally excited molecule is 10 to power minus 12 seconds or less. This is a period significantly shorter than the average lifetime of any electronic excited state. As a result, fluorescence from solutions when it occurs involves transition from the lowest vibrational level of an excited state. This also results in displacement of the fluorescent band towards longer wavelength than the absorbed one, and the effect or phenomena called Stokes shift. So here you can see a blue arrow which shows you the excitation of the electron into the excited level, and the yellow arrow which is emission of the energy from the excited state. So you can see the difference between the height of the blue arrow and the red arrow. The red arrow is shorter in height than that of the blue arrow, indicating the amount of energy associated is less in case of emission. And above it, you can see small packets of energy released, vibrational relaxation happening, this electron coming from the highest vibrational level to next, and then the lowest possible one. In molecules, as one molecule drops to a lower vibrational level, the other will hop up to the higher vibrational state with the energy it gains. It is not that all the electrons in the system go to the excited state at once and come back again. It is that some of the molecules go to the excited state, some remain in ground state. The one who were in excited state comes to ground state and other go into the excited state. So the drawing below actually explains the process of excitation and vibrational relaxation. The red molecules is in an electronically excited state and vibrational state. In a collision, it transfers some of its vibrational energy to the blue molecules. Now the blue molecules go into the excited state as seen by the red one comes into the ground state and represented by blue color. So given lot of vibrational energy levels in a molecule, vibrational energy levels are present in both ground state as well as in excited state. An excited state that is low enough in energy so that some of its lower vibrational level overlaps with any of the higher vibrational level of the ground state. If that kind of thing happens, that means any vibrational level of the excited state has energy that is equal to the energy of any of the vibrational level in the ground state. The electron may come to or hop to the ground level without releasing a photon. So these systems are so efficient and are called radiationless transitions. So electrons have tendency to give off small packets of energy rather than to give off a giant photon. So they tend to avoid giving off giant photons or having emission if they can get to lower energy state by giving off small packets of energy, so hopping small steps. They may relax all the way down to the ground state via vibrational relaxation only. Explains this effect. So you have a black color vibration levels and red color is the showing excited state. You have a molecule has absorbed energy, gone into the excited state. From excited state, it has number of vibrational levels and one of the vibrational levels matches the energy of one of the vibration level of ground state. The electron will know, the system will take no effort to release the energy in the form of light. It will hop slowly down, releasing small packets of energy. That means there will be a radiation-less relaxation of the system. Internal conversion. So what is internal conversion and what leads to radiationless transition? So radiationless transition means loss of fluorescence, and it is not just the internal conversion which leads to radiationless transition. It is number of factors or combination of the events which lead to radiationless transition. For example, vibrational relaxation in addition to the internal conversion and external conversion leads to radiationless transitions. Internal conversion is a process by which a molecule passes to lower electronic state without emission of radiation. Internal conversion are efficient when two electronic energy levels are significantly close for the existence of an overlap in vibrational energy level, that is the potential energies of the two excited state are identical. This equality permits efficient transition through overlapping and usually more probable than the loss of energy by fluorescence from a higher excited state. External conversion is another factor and is a common process which is transferring energy to other molecules or molecules of solvent, and ultimate result is minuscule increase in temperature of the system. So external conversion involves interaction and energy transfer between excited molecules and the solvent or other solute. This markedly affects the fluorescence intensity. So conditions which tend to reduce the number of collisions between particles, for example low temperature, high viscosity, generally leads to enhanced fluorescence radiations. Less transition to ground state from the lowest excited singlet state and triplet state probably involves external conversion as well as internal conversion. Intersystem crossing is another phenomena or factor that leads to loss of fluorescence. But in this case, we can gain at least phosphorescence. So let's assume an excitation of any organic molecule. Generally, organic molecules have no unpaired electrons according to the quantum rule, that no unpaired electron is there in the system, especially in ground state, which are called singlet ground states. So it's represented by your singlet ground state by two arrows represent two opposite spins of two electrons. So according to one of our selection rules, which is quantum rule, for electronic excitation, the excited state must also have no unpaired electron. In other words, the spin of the electron that gets excited into the same after excitation should be same as it was before the excitation. So this intersystem crossing is a process in which spin of an excited electron is reversed from plus half to minus half or vice versa. That results in change in multiplicity of the molecule. And this results in an electronic state of lower energy, that is single electron in different orbital prefer to have parallel spins with a multiplicity of 3, thus designated as triplet state. So this is enhanced if the vibrational levels of the two states overlap. Two states means singlet excited state and triplet state. If the vibrational levels of the two states have energy overlapping, intersystem crossing is a common phenomenon. And it is present in molecules that contain heavy atoms like iodine, bromide, and the effect is known as heavy atom effect. The interaction between the spin and orbital motion becomes large in presence of such atoms. The presence of paramagnetic species, for example, molecular oxygen in solution, also causes intersystem crossing and as a result, loss of fluorescence. Again, a representation by using blue and red color is explained that a molecule is excited, a red arrow showing excitation of a molecule, electron going from ground level to the excited singlet state level, and from there the energy after having a system where we have overlapping energy of singlet excited state to triplet excited state, the electron shifts from singlet excited state to the triplet state. So students, let's summarize what we have learned in this module. We have discussed and understood the phenomena of fluorescence and phosphorescence. What is the difference between fluorescence and phosphorescence? What are the requirements of a substance to show fluorescence? How fluorescence happens and what other factors tend to activate or deactivate the fluorescence phenomena? How vibrational relaxation, release of small packets of energy lead to internal conversion and intersystem crossing? How these all factors combine to actually lead to loss of fluorescence. Thank you.